Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started, and I just want to thank you all for coming and joining us for this Lunch and Learn today. My name is Angela Nunnally, and I am the Vice President of the National Society of Black Engineers, and we're going to get started. Our mission: to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. The Potomac River chapter, some of the things that we're really big on is making sure that we're an organization that's dedicated to professional development of Black engineers and other minorities who participate in the field of engineering. We make sure that we encourage and mentor collegiate and primary students and create strong relationships with the community. We're based right here in King George and Dahlgren, but we also represent the Fredericksburg and the southern Maryland areas. And we also promote being a part of professional societies, companies, and within the community. Our membership overview, if you're interested in being a member, it's open to any individual who has a degree in science, technology, engineering, or math. You can also, even if you don't have that degree, you can be an affiliate, an alumni affiliate. The annual national dues are $50, and if you're a recent graduate from college, the membership is free your first year. And all you have to do is just participate in our meetings, events, and volunteer. We'll help you seek opportunities, and you'll enjoy more guest speakers like you'll hear today. Some of the benefits of being a member, you get the opportunity of networking globally with 5,500 technical professionals. You get the opportunity to work one-on-one with youth, with the Rappahannock Big Brothers Big Sisters. We have several torch programs. Also, our pre-college initiative that takes place at the King George Middle School once a month. And special interest groups. Like I said earlier, your first year membership is only $25. There are professional and leadership development opportunities, and also discounts and much more. Our 2013-2014 executive board includes Dwayne Nelson, who is our chapter president. I think he stepped out. Myself, Angela Nunnally, vice president. Brandy Jackson, our treasurer. Siobhan Miller, secretary. She's not here. Brittany Herring, programs chair. She's outside the door. Crystal Belfield is the pre-college initiative chair. Shamika Pollard, telecommunications chair. She's over there. And Tony Moss, our parliamentarian. We have several partnerships, one including the Rappahannock Big Brothers Big Sisters. Several of us, once a week for an hour after school, we volunteer at the Potomac Elementary School outside base, and we each have a little sister or brother. We also have a partnership with NSBE Federal Credit Union, and I like to thank them because they're the ones who sponsored the lunch today. Also, recently we partnered with the King George YMCA because we feel that it's important that while being a part of STEM, you should still be fit and healthy. And also, we partnered with the University of Mary Washington Dahlgren, which is the reason why we're here today and not on base. The most recent is our partnership with Old Dominion University of Dahlgren. And we have Gloria here, who's representative, or the site director. We have several, like I said, technical outreach, community help, or torch programs. They provide science and engineering and technology exposure to minority communities. They stimulate enthusiasm about science, engineering, and technology, and mathematics. Provide introductory training to members of the community and different STEM fields. And they promote the value of STEM at different education levels. They also encourage greater participation in science, engineering, technology, and math at all levels. Some of our professional programs include United Way Day of Caring, Rappahannock Brothers and Sisters, Bowl for Kids' Sake, Habitat for Humanity, and Diva Dash. If you're interested in that, we're signing up for that soon. A Walk for Education, which is a signature event sponsored by NSBE, where we walk door to door and hand out different paraphernalia or pamphlets or any information about the colleges, SATs, financial aid. Another program is Adopt a Highway and Box for Tots. Some other professional programs include our membership and fundraising drives. We've had several networking and social events. We actually have one coming up soon on March 7th. And our pre-college initiative at King George Middle School, where we do different activities with the middle school children. They get to leave their class for the day for an hour or so and do something different with us. Next are our professional development. Professional development programs are to provide an atmosphere to grow technical, managerial, and other professional leadership skills for our technical professionals. We fully encourage participation in the NSBE professional development opportunities. Technical professionals are better positioned for promotions and new opportunities at any point in their career. And that's why we started the Lunch and Learn series. And it just gives us an opportunity to hear from different speakers on different topics that may help us develop professionally in our career. So today our guest speaker is Mr. Willie McCallister. Mr. McCallister is a graduate of Morgan State University with a degree in engineering physics. He joined the Dahlgren acquisition community in 2001, where he focused his efforts on refining the system engineering process to rapidly transition capability to warfighters in a combat environment. Mr. McCallister continued his education by earning a master's in systems engineering from Johns Hopkins University and acquiring DAU certifications in 4 common core areas to champion NSWC-DD, technical data collection, TDC, SW development effort in support of PEO IWS. Mr. McCallister has served over 28 years in the United States Army Reserve as a personal manager, communications staff officer, cyber warrior, and continues to serve on the Pentagon staff as a program manager. He strives to mentor and guide engineers to envision the future of systems engineering and its application in everyday life. He believes every engineer provides added value to NSWC-DD team as a laboratory strategically focused on engineering capability to support our warfighters in the present and future. And without further delay, Mr. McCallister.
First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me to come and speak to you guys today. I really pondered a lot about what I wanted to talk to you about. One of the most intriguing things that I've seen in the past and in the future is the ability to transition from an education environment to the workforce here at Dahlgren, and what it takes to really become successful here at Dahlgren, because it is a process in that transition, and you really need to understand why you were chosen, and number two, what is the focal point for Dahlgren, and what we're trying to accomplish, and how you fit into that strategic plan. So I thought about that, and one of the things that I came up with is how you fit into this era, the ability to project and envision system engineering. Because many people think that system engineering is just an engineering process, where it's truly not an engineering process. It's a part of our evolution, something that we've actually been using for years to accomplish goals and objectives in our everyday life. But it's only in the recent past was we've taken that process, converted, and used it in an engineering capacity to develop capability for our warfighters. So we're going to talk about that. So this is what we're going to cover, looking at the basics for system engineering, answering questions of why acquisition, why and how that fits, how system engineering fits into that overall process. We're going to look at the application of system engineering from the life perspective, and just go through some of the processes, the ways we utilize system engineering in a life perspective, from a life perspective, and then compare it to how we use it from an engineering aspect. And then we're going to look at how you have to really continue your educational growth. It doesn't stop once you graduate from college. It's a continuous process. The process continuously changes, and you're gonna have to take on that challenge, and you're gonna have to motivate yourself to continue to move forward. We're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna look at the mentoring process as well, because that's an important part of allowing you to move forward. And then we're gonna look at building self-esteem, because I feel like at a lot of times in your career, you guys are junior engineers, you're growing, but a lot of times you are afraid to speak when you're in an open forum, especially if you're in any kind of TM, IPT, or open session where we have certification reviews. And if something is spoken or something is incorrect, we have a hard time here at Dahlgren as junior engineers standing up and at least correcting the error that was made, to make sure our senior leaders have all the correct information to make a good, educated decision on a tactical system that we're going to deploy to our war fighters, and that's important. And then overall, how Dahlgren is trying to help build you guys as the new leaders for tomorrow, because that's why you're here. We truly need your knowledge, your insight to help us build the next system for our war fighters tomorrow. So let's start looking at the basics of system engineering. You know, as you transition from college, you know, they teach you all the theory. You focus on your area of concentration, and then we here at Dahlgren have our HR folks go out and start the recruiting process. And we're looking for the brightest to bring here to Dahlgren to start this process of learning. And you get here at Dahlgren, and guess what? The first thing we throw at you is Acquisition 101. And that Acquisition 101 is something you just sit back and you say, I went through 4 years of college, and now they throw a cartoon at me. Okay? Because I'll tell you, when I came into Dahlgren in 2001, I was like, I got this. I can make this happen. I took Acquisition 101, I said, they just wasted my time, the government time, their money, and I don't know what to do with Acquisition 101. Well, it's very important. You may not get the vision or the picture of how you utilize it today, but it's very, very important. Because that acquisition process is going to set the groundwork for how you do system engineering within that process. And believe it or not, when you look at those 5 phases, if you took DAU and you took good notes, you will look at that. You will look at that entire process, and it's huge. And there's a lot of information on that chart. But guess what? When you look at the internal parts of it, you see that V diagram all over the place. It just continually evolves from one phase to the next, and that's the part that we truly focus on. Because without understanding that process, you don't truly understand how to apply what you've learned in college. And that's what they're trying to teach you here. Because we learn all that theory. We know how to break down a simple basic equation, understand how to build a basic circuit. But guess what? Until you learn that acquisition process, you don't understand how we build complex systems here in the Navy and across DoD. And that's what that acquisition process is all about. Teaching you how to apply it using the process. Because acquisition is a phase. You go across the different phases, but system engineering is a process. That's the process by which we break a huge complex system down to small elements build those elements up to a point where it's mature, and then bring it all back together, and we say, okay, this is the system of choice, this is what we're gonna certify, validate, and we're gonna send out to the warfighter. And it's an important part, it's very important that the warfighter gets exactly what they need to fight the war. Because if you haven't noticed in the news today, we are in a very financial constrained environment. And I'll tell you, being up at the Pentagon, you hear a lot. All the senior leaders up there, big word up there is do more with less. Okay? That is all they talk about. Tell me how you can save me money. And guess what? That's coming back to the laboratories. Because one of the ways that they're looking at saving money, saving funding, is to have the laboratories do more engineering work at the lower level. We're already paying the labs to do work. We know they have the engineering resources. Let's utilize that resource. Let's have them engineer products and deliver products to the warfighters. And that's where you guys are going to come in, and you're going to help us. So what do I look at? I look at what is really important here as far as acquisitions. Here at Dahlgren, we have one focal area, and that's SPURDY, System Engineering. Okay? And SPURDY System Engineering is great. When you start off, you're going to go through the different courses. At 101, you're going to go through SIS, and you're going to gain that level 3 knowledge for SPURDY. But that's not enough. It is not enough to become a good system engineer. A good system engineer have to cross different core areas. And why is that? Because when you're looking at those core areas, you have to understand who you are interfacing with at every aspect. The PM. We sit here at Dahlgren, the PM makes decisions, and we sit here and wonder why. Where if we gain enough knowledge and understand his role and responsibility in that system engineering process, we will know why. At least understand the concept of why they made that decision. And that's important. T&E. When you're going through and transitioning through that process, understand the need, breaking it down to the requirements, bringing it down to the next level, the functional requirements, and identifying metrics and modes in order to evaluate and test that system. You need to be able to understand what the T&E director or engineer, what is he thinking of how your system is going to be tested. Because I'll tell you right now, the way we build a system and the way CommOpTel 4 is going to test that system is going to be entirely different. And you will never go to CommOpTel 4 and tell them how they're going to test your system. Because they'll tell you, there's the door. Okay? We're going to test the system, we're going to validate it, and if it doesn't pass, we're going to send it back to you with the deficiencies and tell you you didn't meet the qualification, go back and rework. Contracts, a big issue here at Dahlgren. Everywhere, I'm not going to say just Dahlgren, it's everywhere. From a system engineer, if you think you will never sit down and sit down with a core and write a contract or a statement of work, sadly mistaken. Okay? It's a long process. But guess what? You have to have some knowledge about contracts. So when you're looking at writing that statement of work, how you write that contract is going to make the difference on whether the government is going to pay a lot for that system in development or in the life cycle sustainment role, or if the government's going to get exactly what it desires. And that's really, really based on how well you know how to write requirements. And these common areas, these core areas, are very important. But see, when Dahlgren looks at your acquisition career, they only look at SPURDY. You can't stop there. You cannot stop there. You have to look at all those different core areas. You have to seek out the knowledge to gain that knowledge to be a good system engineer. Because you don't know when the program office down at the Navy Yard is going to call you up and say, hey, we need someone to lead this effort. And we're going to choose you and bring you up here, bring you up to the Navy Yard on a rotation. And guess what? You're going to function in that role as a PM or a PAPA. So you have to be ready. And you have to be knowledgeable in those areas to make sure you can execute that task to standards. In the transition phase, as we transition, guess what? I know we go to school, we work, sometimes we work alone. You got introverts, extroverts, you know? How many people walk around in the Dahlgren labs, or walk down the hallway, you say hi to people, and you look at the floor and the ceiling? Huh? That's on a regular basis, huh? Guess what? You have to work as a team. You have to work as a team. If you think that Dahlgren is a laboratory where you work alone, sadly mistaken again. Teamwork is how we accomplish our tasks. We are the go-to laboratory for the fleet. We are the ones that the fleet call first. Why? Because we have a lot of the resources that they require in order to be successful. Because when we build systems like the Aegis Combat System, that is a system where we maintain dominance on the seas in areas of concentration where we have sailors or men and women in uniform. And we have to sustain that dominance in those regions. That's how we protect the freedom that you enjoy today. So think about that. So teamwork is very important. You have to work as a team. And if you're going to work in some diverse groups, it's okay. I'm a socialite, I'll tell you right now. I'll talk to everybody. It doesn't matter. If you got what I need to get me to allow me to complete my task, come on in my office. Because we're going to sit down and talk for a while. But we have to work as a team, not just in your individual groups, but as a whole. Because when I look at Dahlgren, I don't look at Dahlgren as just a laboratory. I look at Dahlgren as one big family. A big family that works together to supply a capability to the warfighter and to solve problems when called upon. Collaboration among peers. Don't be afraid to talk to your leaders. Branch heads, division heads, don't be afraid to talk to them. They're people just like everybody else. You know, just like my father and grandfather tell me, they put their pants on just like you put yours on. But you cannot be afraid to collaborate with them. And some of them are very smart. Don't get me wrong. Very smart. Smarter than me. But that does not deter me from interacting with them to understand exactly what we're trying to accomplish or to resolve a problem that I cannot resolve myself. They're very smart. They're willing to help you. But I will say this. You have to open your mouth. You have to ask for help. And that's the problem that we have. Sometimes you can read a book. Sometimes you don't understand the complex equations in the book. But the guy right next to you, it's easy for him. He can comprehend and he can explain it to you in layman's terms. You have to be willing to look over to the next guy and say, hey, can you walk over here and explain this to me so that I understand how to apply this problem to my task. And you have to be able to do that. Teaching and learning. Sometimes you're smarter than the guy next to you. Sometimes you want to be the standout person. Don't hold them information back from others. That's not good. Because I feel like when you withhold information, then you break that bond between that team. And here, when you establish those relationships between you and your coworkers, guess what? They're gonna remember that. And as you continue to grow here at Dahlgren, you're gonna come across that person in your lifetime here at Dahlgren. And guess what's gonna happen? That person's gonna he's gonna think about the time that you and him collaborated together, and they're gonna say, come on. He's gonna welcome you into his office, into his area, into his cube. Okay, and you guys are gonna sit down and you're gonna work out some problems or issues that he may have. Okay, and combining your overall college foundation with Dahlgren strategy. You know, Dahlgren sends out these strategic plans all the time, and most of the time we just take that strategic plan and we slide that. I'm gonna say we slide it to the side. Okay, but that strategic plan is useful because it's a guide. It tells you where Dahlgren is planning to go in the future. and it's usually established across the fighter. And many of you guys don't, a lot of you don't know what the fighter is, do you? Okay, fighter is overall planning across a 5-year span. So if you look at the fighter right now, it's starting in FY14 and count 5 years out. So when you're looking at TV and they say, hey, we're talking about the budget across the fighter, they're talking about a 5-year budget plan. Okay? And it's very, how can I say, interesting how they develop that fighter, whether it's a strategic plan or budget. But you need to understand how you fit into that strategic plan. Not just view that strategic plan only when you're trying to develop your IDPs, but look at it on a reoccurring basis to make sure that you're still aligned with that strategic plan. Because they developed that strategic plan for a reason, and you have to make sure you are aligned with it at all times. Oh, by the way, don't be afraid to stop me and ask questions, or if you have if you want to ask questions, just stop me. I may answer the question, I may not. Okay, history, application of system engineering. System engineering is a very unique process, a process by which we build unique and complex systems, or system of systems. But sometimes people think that this is a new process that we've developed, but it's not. It's a process that has occurred throughout history, throughout phases in your life. For instance, if you take the opportunity of you when you first hit high school, okay? In the standard process, it says you have to first identify a need. You have to identify a natural need, what you actually need in order to succeed. Then you have to establish requirements. Then you have to look at functional requirements. And then you have to look at metrics by which you validate whether or not you were able to accomplish the task. And then verify, validate, and then you can proceed to the next phase. Well, let's look at high school. At the high school, just a normal kid transitioning in high school and trying to get out of high school. The first thing he needs is what? A high school diploma. Because if he graduates without a high school diploma, guess what? Jobs are going to be rare, scarce. Okay? He has a need to graduate from high school. What is the next phase? He has to establish that requirement. I have to graduate. I have to complete 4 years of high school and maintain a satisfactory GPA or grade point in order to graduate, and be able to look at passing the state assessment test and so forth to make sure I accomplish those goals to graduate. Those are the requirements. So now we move to the next phase. Functional requirements. Functional requirements are the actual task that has to be completed. He has to get up and go to school. He has to sit in class. He has to take notes. He has to pass those tests that are provided to him at every phase in life. Every phase throughout that high school, those 4 years, he has to do that. At the end, he has to then pass his finals every year, which was going to allow him to graduate and move to the next grade level. At the end, he will validate that he has accomplished every task throughout each year for those 4 years, and validate it through the state assessment test to say, I have accomplished all those tasks, I have verified, validated my accomplishments, my tasks, and now I have met the requirement to receive my high school diploma. And guess what? We do it over and over. We have done it throughout our evolution. Only till recently, in the past, that we've taken that system and applied it to engineering. Is it successful? What's more complex than human evolution? That's the most complex system that has ever been developed. And the engineer or the architect that developed that system is beyond me. But it's a very successful system that has been used throughout our livelihoods. And guess what? When we start looking at engineering capability, let's look at it from an engineering standpoint. We have to maintain dominance in regions that are not owned by the U.S. So when the sailors are out, let me back it up. When the combatant commanders, anybody know what a combatant commander is? You know what a combatant
You should tell, because we got young people in the room.
That's what I'm about to say.
Yeah, thank you.
You ever see those? We have generals that govern each region around the world. We have what we call PACOM, which is the Pacific Command, Central Command. Let me back it up. Pacific Command. He owns more or less the Pacific, Hawaii. It transitions all the way out to Japan. It covers North Korea. So that is his area of responsibility. There are four general combatant commands: PACOM, CENTCOM, EUCOM. Well, we have AFRICOM. Okay, and 5. We have NORTHCOM. Let's not forget NORTHCOM. But each one of them has a 4-star general, and that 4-star general has to sustain a dominance in that region to make sure we protect U.S. interests abroad. He controls all the services under his command: Army, Air Force, Marine, Navy. But each one of those services have their own 3-star general command that they report to. But the big guy, which is the combatant commander, he owns all the resources. So what happens is sometimes our enemy comes up, and they actually turn around and develop a capability that will threaten our ability to sustain dominance in that region. And what generally happens is it becomes a problem that the combatant commander can't resolve with existing capabilities that he has in theater. So a requirement is then pushed back to the Pentagon, in which they call a ROC. That's what they call it up at the Pentagon level, a ROC. Don't ask me what it stands for, but they'll say it all day long. You got this ROC? You got that ROC? No, I don't, but we got plenty outside in the parking lot. But they will generate a requirement from the command. That command would generate that requirement, and then that requirement would then transition down to one of the laboratories to start the overall process, analysis process, to see if we need to develop a new system or a new capability for the servicemen. And generally what happens, we end up with a need. That need drives a need analysis. Now we start in that full acquisition phase. The material solution phase, TD phase, development phase, EMD phase, and then we go into the production phase. And what happens is as we define that gap, we do an AOA study. That AOA study says what? We have to look at an analysis of alternatives to define whether or not we have capability right now that could solve their problem, because the fleet does not understand each and every system that we have certified, validated, and deployed for their use. So we validate whether or not they have the existing capability. And if not, guess what? We start the phase, concept phase. We draw up a concept, understanding what the visual aspect of how this new system is supposed to perform, how it's supposed to integrate into the existing architecture, and how we plan to deploy it. Then we go back into the requirement phase. We take the requirements, we break it down from the high-level requirements to the functional requirements. What that system has to do in order to accomplish the mission that is identified by that combatant commander. And then we go strictly right into the development phase. Develop the system, define the metrics, validate the system that it is ready for certification, and then we validate that system, and guess what? And then we produce that system and we send it to the warfighter. Same process, different aspects, but guess what? Sometimes we don't relate the two. And for me, I believe that if we can truly harness how we utilize the system engineering process in everyday life, that will make you a better engineer. Because we don't look at life in that perspective. But guess what? It's nothing new for us. System engineering is not new to us. It's a part of our evolution. We've utilized it throughout life. And guess what? We need to continue using it, and we need to really embrace it today. Embrace it and allow this knowledge to transition from here to here to allow us to be better engineers? If I'm not,
If I can just say, this is the best analogy and breakdown I have ever seen. You should actually be teaching at the wheel. Because we tend to want to make everything so complex. And again, I say this every time I come to these, those who know me in the room know I am very simple. And if we can keep it simple, then we can actually get the job done without pulling our hair out one strand at a time.
yes.
Because it really is as simple as, you have to meet these requirements to get through school. You have to do these requirements to advance in your career.
Mhm.
So all of those things, like you said, and I just applaud you for breaking it down to such a simple way of understanding.
And like I said, and we have to continue. We, as engineers, we have to embrace this process. And the start right now is embrace it. Embrace how we use it in our everyday life. It's only gonna allow you to grow as an engineer. So let's talk about your educational goals, how you need to look at that. Here at Dahlgren, guess what? The first thing I have up here is mentorship. How many people have mentors? How many talk to them on a regular basis? How many say, I need to do X, Y, and Z and use all of these educational tools that we have here to further my knowledge? How many of them have funding to send you to these schools? Okay, that's where the issue come in, right? They say that network activity. Well, let's talk about it. Mentorship. One of the things that I will say, coming from the military, from my military side, is mentorship is very important. From the day that you hit Dahlgren throughout your entire career, you need to make sure you have a mentor, a good mentor, one that is going to advise you on achieving your goal or how to get you to achieve your goal. Money should not be an obstacle here at Dahlgren. Sometimes they try to make it an obstacle, but it's not. We're supposed to work as a team. We have to be a team. But we have to make sure that you're well educated to make sure that you become that senior system engineer tomorrow, that leader up tomorrow, and make sure that you're ready to take on additional tasks when called upon. This person that's going to be your mentor, they have to be open-minded, okay? They can't be stovepiped into one specific area, seeing that the only thing I can see is system engineering test and eval. He or she has to be open-minded. He has to offer you the ability to make sure that you get the chance to see not only just one aspect of system engineering, but see it across the broad spectrum. So you can truly find an area of concentration that is really a good fit for you, and you can drive down that path to be the engineer that you want to be. Okay? Dahlgren has a strategic plan and has a plan for you, but you still have to be in an area that you enjoy, and that person also has to be a visionary. Okay? Some people, like I said, that stovepipe, you can't look at this. You can't look at that small tube. You have to look at the big picture. And that's sometimes the senior leadership here, they don't explain that to you, that big picture, okay? We just see that, well, if you're going to be a system engineer or you're going to be a technical person, you're going to grow somewhere down the line to become a senior technical engineer. Well, what happens is that person has been sitting in that position for 45 years. And he is not planning to retire in the next 30 years, okay? That happens here at Dahlgren, okay? But he has to be able to be a visionary. He has to look beyond Dahlgren. Because, see, the way I see it is that when we train you to be the next best engineer, because that's all we groom here, is the best engineers here at Dahlgren. To be the best engineer here for Dahlgren, to represent Dahlgren, guess what? We're looking at not only just training you just to be here at Dahlgren, but to be able to migrate up to the Navy Yard. Be able to have you do rotational assignments at the Pentagon level, because we need that level of expertise at every level, every tier level in our structure, so that you can go up and gain that knowledge, that experience, bring it back to Dahlgren, and teach us. Because not every engineer is going to be able to go up to those levels and learn. But we need good engineers that can articulate, that understand the technical aspects of the system to be able to interface with those senior level personnel up at the Navy Yard or the Pentagon and be able to gain the level of experience that's required to execute or be able to function at that level and then bring that knowledge back and teach the Dahlgren workforce. Isn't that right? Now, and that's what you're looking for. He has to have that big picture view. He can't be stovepipe just for Dahlgren because it's bigger than Dahlgren. Technical career paths. This is what we have here at Dahlgren. You have software engineer, you have hardware engineer, project managers, system engineers, chief engineers. We got a lot of engineers, right? Test engineers. You know? I haven't got to that yet. I didn't put that on here yet. You got, yes, you do have line management. You know, it's hard for a technical person to transition over to line management. But this is what I will promise you. If you're able to harness the knowledge that is gained from the system engineering aspect and be able to transition that forward into your career path and be successful, it doesn't matter what technical career path, you will train yourself to a point where you can go technical or line management, okay? There's nothing more complex than trying to be a project manager because you go through every phase. You learn every aspect of being a project manager. And guess what? When you get to become a branch head and they sit you down in all those meetings, I'm telling you, you go to some meetings, branch heads are always in meetings. I don't know what they talk about.
You don't want to know.
You know, I'm not being kind of so a good engineer. I'm not Mr. McCallister. I do all right.
But I will say, these are your technical career. There's some of the technical career paths, but it doesn't hinder you from becoming a line manager either. A line manager is just another unique process or a path that you have to transition down. You have to understand corporate America as it relates to Dahlgren and understand the processes by which we execute tasks as it comes down from on high and understand how corporate functions, but it's not something that you will not be able to adapt to, okay? Because as you transition and become a real good system engineer, you become very good and very, very good at adapting to change, okay? Educational opportunities. Georgia Tech. I know you guys know about Georgia Tech courses. Love them. Okay? If you've never taken one, recommend you take a look at some of these Georgia Tech courses. They cross a broad spectrum of capabilities that we, or technical capabilities that we utilize here at Dahlgren. DAU courses, as I said before, you must continue to learn. Acquisition courses are very important to become familiar with other areas, that you must concentrate in order to become a good system engineer. Higher education, I think, is the greatest. You pursuing your master's degree, outstanding. Because I'll say this, it wasn't until I took a system engineering master's course at Johns Hopkins University. That was the point in my career where I figured out that acquisition, Act 101, SIS 101, all of that really made sense. Okay? That was 4 years after I got here. Okay? I figured out that, hey, wow, this stuff really makes sense. And truly, I would say this, it was a truly good experience to take those courses at Johns Hopkins University, because not only did they give me the lecture, they applied it right there in the course. And the good part about it was I was a project manager, a young project manager at the time. And when I came across problems, it was the professors that combined their efforts to break it down break the system engineering process down to help me resolve the problems that I had within my project. And I will say that is one of the reasons why I feel that my project today is very successful, because they helped me apply the system engineering process to a real problem. And even today, if I have a problem, I have no problem with calling over to Johns Hopkins and getting help. ATRC, how many people know about the Aegis Training Readiness Center here at Dahlgren? How many people know that we can actually go and sit in on some of those courses that they teach? None of the young people raise their hand. We should take advantage of this Aegis Training Readiness Center. Because I'll tell you, when I first came to Dahlgren, the first thing that my boss, Mr. Lon Carpenter, the first thing he did was say, you know what, I want you to be a hardware engineer. I want you to understand the Aegis Combat System, SPY. I want you to know it inside out. I didn't even know what he was talking about. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so I just brushed it off. And then he turned around and said, I'm going to send you here. So I went through a 6-month course just on SPY. Okay? I could not set my hours. It wasn't a 9 to 5. Because the sailors, they come to class at any given time. Sometimes it's at night. And we sat there 6 months. And I had to do PT with them. And I was, they didn't say, hey, you're a government worker, you don't have to do physical training. He said, no, you're part of this team. Physical fitness, 6 o'clock in the morning, have your shorts on. I said, okay. So I was out there doing a PT test, the whole 9 yards, with the sailors. Take advantage of this. Those sailors that sit in that course, they will help you understand the process. Some of the aspects of the Aegis weapon system or the radar system, they know better than some engineers. You'll be surprised. But we need to take this opportunity, and we need to use it. We need to use that opportunity to learn from the schoolhouse. On the job training, we all have rotations. Okay? Rotations are very important to allow you guys to be able to look across Dahlgren, across the departments, to see what other work is going on, the different types of work that is going on at Dahlgren. Okay? It doesn't necessarily say that your department or your branch head has to go out and research and find you a task or an opportunity to learn from a different perspective, from a different department. You can do it yourself. Be proactive. Go out, talk to some of the branch heads. But before you talk to your branch head, or go outside your branch, make sure you tell your branch head what you're planning to do, okay? So he or she is not surprised. But when you have to do rotation, go rotations. Go out. It's not a bad thing to go out there and look or talk to some of your coworkers and find your own opportunities. Actually, I think some of the branch heads would applaud you for going out there and helping them to solve that problem for you. So let's go and talk about this self-esteem, building this confidence. Okay, I know I'm short on time, but I'm sorry, y'all. You're gonna get this. You guys invited me. I'm just gonna make sure I'm gonna make sure I use this time wisely. Speaking, like I said, don't be afraid to speak in meetings. Okay, it's welcome, but there's a certain way you have to articulate in those sessions. When you're getting ready to talk, or you're going into a meeting, you need to know your audience. Okay? When you have a senior level person that you're going to speak in front of, all of them have bios. Okay? Just like the bio that they sent out on me, you need to go and pull those bios. You need to read them. You need to understand who he or she is, who he worked for, where they've come from, their past. Okay? Why? Because it gives you insight on what they're focused on, or what their area of expertise is, so that you know where to focus your brief and make sure that he gets the right message, or the right message that you're trying to get across to him. So don't be afraid. Know your audience. I'll tell you an experience of mine. Working with my sponsor, came across a funding issue. My overall funding budget zeroed out. Okay, so that means I didn't have any money down here at all. So I had to go to the sponsor, and I was like, I thought my work was done. No. From the sponsor, we went to the congresswoman. And walking into a congresswoman's office for the first time was a very unique experience. Okay? You're talking about a hard person to brief. She was very difficult to brief because she wanted, bottom line up front, what is the problem? Don't rush me. And if I want somebody to come in here and tell me that my time is up, I'll let them know when my time is up. You don't rush me. And she has no problem with telling you you don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to say that, but you don't know what you're talking about. But at the same time, she was very direct. But she, on another sense, guess what? She was very mild-tempered too. Because if you gave her the proper courtesies, you respected her, you understood her background, you would not have a problem with her. But the captain that I was with, the 06 that I was with, had a problem. The captain, she thought she was in charge. And she quickly identified that, no, you're not. You know, I'm in charge, I'm here to resolve your problem, not you resolve mine. Understanding the courtesies. You have to understand military and civilian courtesies. If you've never been in front of some of the senior personnel up at the Pentagon, I had an opportunity to go in front of the Honorable Ms. Shue. She's the big person in the acquisition world, appointed by the President. When you walk in to speak to her, it's the Honorable Ms. Shue. That's how you address her in any forum. There is no such thing as Ms. Shue, how you doing? No. And when you walk into the room, or when she walks into the room, you all stand, okay? You have to stand and give her that respect. You have to. Same thing with 06s. 06 and above, you have to stand. That's the respect that they have. You have to make sure you understand the proper courtesy and render that proper courtesy to that individual. Because that is the only way they're going to look at you from a standpoint and say, this person at least understands the proper courtesy and is rendering that courtesy to me out of respect. Okay? Another thing I'll say on that. When you're walking down the halls at Dahlgren, make sure you continue to speak. And look at them direct and speak to those engineers direct. I don't care whether they look at the floor or not. Sometimes I'll stop and say, hey, I just spoke to you. You didn't speak back. They'll say, yes, I did. I said, then you looked at the floor. I'm not down there. But speak to them. Socialize. Okay? Think before, research and collaboration on your findings. When you're in those forums, when you have to make corrections, make sure you know what you're talking about. Make sure you've done your research. Make sure you've collaborated with your team members, the engineers around you, to make sure you have validated information by which you can stand on. Okay? The data is the one that tells the story. If you haven't did the analysis and the data has not produced a result that says that person is wrong, don't stand up and talk. Because you don't have valid information to say that that person is right or wrong. You have to validate that. And not just you alone, but you along with your co-workers. Think before you speak, that's always, I think that's a given. And respect all parties, whether you disagree or agree. I've been in meetings where people just go back and forth. That's not the way we do business. Be respectful. Okay? Don't get emotional. One thing senior leadership do not like is when engineers get into a meeting and become emotional and start to agree and disagree. Be respectful at all times. Don't get emotional, but just be able to answer the questions. If another engineer gets emotional, take one step back, regroup yourself, and then proceed. There's no need to be confrontational if you don't have to. The other person can drive forward. You don't want any parts of that. You want to step back, let that person settle down, and then move on. You may be able to handle that situation in a sidebar meeting. Do it in that forum, but not in the midst of a meeting where you have specific goals and objectives. And last but not least, Dahlgren. For Dahlgren, we're here. We build partnerships. We're building leaders. You are the next leaders for tomorrow. And we need your insight. We need your insight to build the next system, to be the next person that leads this organization to the next, into the future. Without you, we can't succeed. I'm not going to be here in 50 years. I hope not. But we need you guys to continue to drive forward. Motivate yourselves. Okay? Be proactive. Be ready to take on the tasks of those initiatives that we divvy out to you. The only reason why we ask you to take on more, because we see the potential in you. We see the potential for you to be the next leader, the next great senior engineer here at Dahlgren, the next TD or chief engineer. But it only starts with you. The only person that can hold you back is you. So I'll charge you, make sure you be proactive. Make sure you ask the question. Make sure you take hold of those opportunities. And if you find that you are running into a roadblock, don't hesitate. You can call me. I have no problem with talking to engineers, motivating you, and getting you back on the right track. Because guess what? You're not the only engineers that I'm talking to. I talk to engineers from multiple colleges, because I truly believe in mentoring and making sure we get good engineers, not only here at Dahlgren, but throughout the DoD. And here, when you walk outside Dahlgren and you go into a meeting, you represent Dahlgren. Okay? Whether you like it or not, you represent this organization. And I'm proud of this organization because I believe in it. But I believe that it can only be successful starting with me. And that's the same for you. And with that, thank you.
Before you leave, we're going in our goodie closet. This is a certificate of appreciation to Mr. Willie McCallister. On behalf of the National Society of Black Engineers, we thank you for supporting our mission and our professional development program. And we definitely greatly appreciate your presentation. It was wonderful. Oh, Ms. Sharon has a question.
I had questions. I know it's on the time, but it's the young people are here.
Okay, that's fine.
So, you took the SPERTY systems engineering courses. How did they help you at all in your master's level systems engineering training and courses?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
The reason, and I'll say this, they helped me because they had given me the foundation, but I didn't know how to apply it. The Johns Hopkins University helped me to apply it, because at first I didn't understand how do we integrate these different courses to formulate this process by which the government is saying we need to use in order to build systems. But Johns Hopkins brought all of that together and really completed the picture of the vision for me.
Good.
And we went to school together, met at OpNav, up at the Pentagon, and I agree with you. You had SPERTY over here, you had the acquisition courses, and then you had all this engineering stuff you learned in school, but you gotta find out about a bill and a budget, and what does that have to do with the circuit, and how do you get from one to the other, and there's no easy way to marry those up, so.
And also, because you touched on one thing that is extremely near and dear to me, and that is uptown assignments. We don't have enough people who take advantage of that. You and Alvita were at OpNav, we were supporting the Pentagon right now. We have folks like Mike Wardlaw, even though he's no longer here at NSWC Dahlgren, he did a rotation at ONR. He's up there, and they're influencing and bringing back that knowledge to Dahlgren. And when I worked in the ASN RDA Chief Systems Engineering Office, one of the things that we talked about was the wheel. and if DeWia is really beneficial to our systems engineering process. And one of the things that I was able to bring to the table, being an engineer from Dahlgren, is that where we need more practical training, and we get so caught up in being really smart up here, and we forget the simple things, and being practical, and how do we apply it, how do we make it more hands-on for better and easier learning. So please take advantage of Uptown assignments, and you can even do assignments right here on base. You can go over to the Navy Air and Missile Defense Agency, you can go to MBA, but it's really important to step outside of your actual area, get out of that stovepiping. And Mr. McCallister is one of our top engineers here at Dahlgren. You know, me and Alvita took the lonely road of branch head and division head, you know, just saying, you know. But the second thing is that I just want to touch on is when you talked about approaching your senior managers, we are approachable. I don't wear my division head hat every day like a badge. I am just Sharon. And most people who know me will tell you that, because if we are so far removed, we're not helping our junior employees to develop and move up in the ranks and even know which career path they want to take. So honestly, I think most of our line managers at any level definitely want to talk to you. And my mentors are SCSs, and they are very approachable people, you know, because they know that we're the future. You guys are the future. We want to make sure we're keeping that going. So you raised some really, really great points in your presentation. I thank you for coming today.
In retrospect to line management, you also have group leads that are both technical as well as line management. So how do you feel about that in terms of that avenue?
I think when you mix the group lead and line management, because I'll be honest with you, for a lot of the engineers that actually work under me, when we actually sit down and construct their IDTs and their yearly objectives, I don't allow them to just put it together themselves. They actually have to construct it, and then they have to come and tell me why. Okay? Because I need to truly understand why did they put that information in there, and what are they actually trying to achieve. And then at one point in their career path, the one question I always ask is, what do you want to be when you grow up? If you ask any one of the guys that work for me in my project, they'll tell you. He's going to ask you this question. And sooner or later, you're going to have to give them an answer. Because once we define what path you want to go, we're going to agree on a process or a path, and then I'm going to start exercising different objectives for you to get you to either go into the group, down the group lead path, where that'll allow you to go from group lead right into line management and help groom you into those positions, or I'm going to take you into the technical aspects. And I'm going to get you into a point where I groom you to be an S&T lead, all the way up into being a project lead, or a technical director, or a chief, which is a chief engineer. So depending on how you identify your goals and objectives as an individual, and how you define what you want to be when you grow up, is going to help us decide on what path you're going to take. And that's really down to the junior engineer level, because sometimes you don't get that choice. Sometimes people just thrust you into that position. But if you have a good mentor, a good leader, he or she should sit you down periodically and ask you and go over that IDP and talk to you about it, and you should still be able to formulate why you identify those goals and objectives in that bio and IDP. It's not just about plugging information in. Whichever path you want, that's the path we're going to go down. But I need to be sure that you understand exactly what you want in life. So, any other questions? Thank you.
All right. Ken, we appreciate you coming out. We do have a few announcements and upcoming events. It will only take about 5 minutes, but if you must leave, you could. And also, if you're interested in joining the credit union, we have two here that are willing to talk to you about benefits of joining the NSWC Federal Credit Union. So now I will turn it over to Ms. Angela, and she'll wrap it up for us for this evening.
So just to recap some of the events from January and February, we had our lunch and learn last month with Mr. Washington, who discussed the importance and his viewpoints on understanding of being responsible, no matter if you are a lead systems engineer, program manager, or an administrative professional. Also, we had the Black History observance last week with Dr. Macklin, who spoke on physics yesterday, today, and tomorrow. She was pretty, you know, y'all were there. Also, we have a networking social event coming up. Well, this is actually the one from, the picture from the one that we had last month, but we have one coming up next month on March 7th at Chili's. If you can join us, a percentage goes to the chapter, whoever comes out. So that'll be a good opportunity for some of us who don't know the members of the chapter to get to know each other. And some more announcements include Bowl for Kids' Sake, which is March 8th and 9th. That's a picture from the last one. Also, the NSBE 40th Annual Convention is coming up at the end of March. I believe a few of us plan to attend this year. Also, March is Women's History Month. So if you look at our website, you'll see different highlights about different women in our history. And also we have the National Security Lecture, Confronting Reality, with Thomas F. Lynch, PhD. That is coming up soon on March 7th. And also we welcome new members. Our newest member is Mr. Derek Claiborne. Is he here?
No, he's not currently here, but he joined 2 weeks ago. Yep.
Some other upcoming events include the Rappahannock Big Brothers Big Sisters, which is every week from 3:30 to 4:45. We'll be celebrating women's history, the professional mixer I spoke of, and Bowl for Kids' Sake. The NSBE convention. The next lunch and learn is March 27th, and also the pre-college initiative program, which will be held March 28th. And that's the end. If you have any questions. All right, thank you for coming, and thank you, Mr. Millay.